What's up, everybody? Another episode of Best Advice Ever. And today we are going to talk with a local team leader who is just crushing it. And you guys know how I love me some social media. And this guy is going to tell you about something that he does with Facebook groups that is just off the charts. So you don't want to miss this. We serve buyers and sellers and basically the northern half of Ohio. And I just love giving back to the real estate community. So we do this show called Best Advice Ever, where we interview successful agents and brokers from all over the country right now, but soon to be international. And today I have the pleasure of bringing in Will Penney. How's it going, Will?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
For sure. So let me do a brief extension of that introduction, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions here. So Will is he runs a team. He's a team lead of the Penney Group at EXP. Will has been in the business a short time, 35 plus years. So he's still, learning the ropes here. And the social media thing, I'm going to just tell you what it's called and we'll get to it. It's called Social Orchard, and I'll let him tell you more about that. But Will, you have a very interesting story, so I kind of wanted to start off with that. Just tell everybody a little bit about what you do, maybe what kind of numbers you put up, what your team looks like, and then we'll get into your history.
Sure. I currently have a team of three women plus me. We typically, the most transactions we've done was 256, and we had 6 licenses then, about 46 million. Last year we did about 35 million, but we only had 4 of us. Mostly referrals from past clients. One of the benefits of hanging around at the bar too long is I've created a pretty good following. So referral-based business is probably 70% or so of my business. And yeah, we go out and do the right thing.
So small,
Anyway.
like SEAL team type model. Tell us, besides the agents, what does the rest of your team look like? Do you have admins, back office?
So here's where my team gets really different. So I am still in production, and I'm trying to get out of production, but I'm still in production. Last year I sold about 40 houses. Year before I sold 62. I've been selling 60 to 100 homes a year for a long time, and myself. And then I grew my team around me. But basically, I have a showing agent. Her name's Rebecca. She's been with me 16 years. So when I get a buyer, I do the buyer consult. I get the buyer representation agreement signed. I put them on a text group with Rebecca. Rebecca sets up the search. She shows them homes. And then once they find a house, I either write the offer or she does, depending on if I'm, the time of the day and that sort of thing. But then Rebecca also sold almost 40 houses last year. So my showing agent shows houses for me, so I never have to show houses. But then she's also built her own business, and she's selling 30 to 40 homes a year. My listing manager, she actually went solo about 2 weeks ago. She's been a friend of mine. She was on my team for 10 years, and we've been talking about her going out on her own now that her kids are out of college. But she was my listing manager. So when I list a house, I go out and I do the market analysis. I have them sign a listing agreement. Then she goes out, measures, gets all the disclosures signed, put it in the MLS, gets showing time set up, does all on List Hub, does all of that. But then last year, she sold 9.6 million. So my team, they have their support functions for me and my world, but then they also have grown their sales business, which is sort of like the golden handcuffs. And they like that because they had like Rebecca has a salary. She's a W-2 employee. She has a 401k. But then she also sold almost 40 houses last year. So, and she gets paid bonuses and all of that. So, and then my closing coordinator, she's licensed. She handles everything from transaction to close. She coordinates with the brokerage. And then she also sells a couple houses a year. And then I've got Samantha. She's our runner. She does open houses. She shows homes for other agents on the team. She's got young kids. She drops off lock boxes, does that sort of thing. But then she also sells about 5 or 6 houses a year because her husband sells windows. He does really, really well. So that's all she wants to do. So my whole admin team is also licensed and they also sell houses.
Got it. But what's unique about your structure, and not many people are doing this here in the Cleveland area. You're based out of Stowe,
Yeah.
and you do that radius around Stowe, which is Summit County, that whole south of Cleveland,
Yeah.
Akron area. Not many agents are using the showing agent model. And I know you explained
No.
it pretty well, but just to kind of reiterate it, this is an employee you have who literally has a 401k, gets paid a set amount. So it's the security of that. But then they make additional money selling their own, doing their own sales. And then I assume at closing, there's some additional bonus or
Yeah, they
percentage
get
that
paid. They
showing
get
agent.
paid commission or they get paid bonuses in their paycheck, depending on if they refer a listing to me or, but it's a 6-figure job, right? So, but then she has a really solid base salary. So it works out really, really well. And the reason I have lots of problems with lots of things. I'm a cynical person, but I think where a lot of real estate agents go wrong is that they bring in a showing agent because they don't want the risk of having any upfront cost. They make 2 mistakes. They give them half the commission or 30% of the commission or whatever. The minute you tie your showing agent to the commission, then what happens is their spouse at some point or a friend of theirs is going to say, wait, you're doing all the work and you only get 25%. They're getting 75%. So then they come to you ultimately and ask for more. And that commission goes up, 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 up. When you tie it to a salary or an hourly rate, then it's based on that. So if I pay her $25 an hour, W-2, then but she gets a salary. Plus, if she works after 5 o'clock or on the weekend, she gets $30 an hour, W-2. And she gets 401k on that as well. But then there's no discussion around the commission. The commission's removed from it. But I'm willing to pay the money. So a lot of real estate agents, they'll pay like $50 here, $100 there, $25 here, but they 1099 them. And then what happens ultimately? That person goes to their account at the end of the year, they owe $1,400 in taxes and they quit because they're upset, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I do it W-2 to save them from themselves so that taxes come out. And I don't ever tie it to the commission. I make it about a job. And when they've got a part-time job where they're making $30 an hour or $40 an hour, they'll sell houses and keep that because nobody wants to quit a part-time fun $30+ an hour job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and for sure. And so that you threw out a term. I want to have you define this for our listeners and watchers. By the way, if you're on YouTube, this is a good time to hit that subscribe button. But you used a term, golden handcuffs, and I know what it means. But go ahead and explain to people what it means and why some of the things you do are examples of golden handcuffs.
Well, and it's not meant to be a negative thing at all.
Right.
I think where real estate agents, when they start growing teams, they start thinking of themselves as the pimp and the agents as the hooker. A lot of teams are created out of ego, right? They don't know what they're doing. They
not
don't
the 21 Mike team. 21 Mike team is not created out of ego, but
no, we're not talking about us, man.
Right.
We're talking about these young agents and their first evolution is to start a team. Yeah. Which is, and they don't know why, they just want to be able to call themselves a team leader and basically be a pimp. And what that ends up doing is it ends up creating resentment. And that's why a lot of these teams go sideways and they're not very productive. And they have to, in order to retain. They got to pay more and more of the commission. So I've always been willing to pay a salary and paid vacation, and I've had a 401k in place since 2015, because then psychologically, this all started in about 2005 when I had an agent on my showing agent. Her name was Maggie. And I was paying her $20 an hour W-2, and her husband said that he got mad because she was out on Saturdays for $20 an hour. So I bumped it up to 30 and he shut up. So then I was like, if I'm just paying 25% commission, then I just found that there was a lot of friction around that after time passed by. They don't mind doing it up front, but then they start thinking that the showing of the homes, it's kind of like the baker at a bread business. The business is finding customers and it's not making bread, you know. It's lead generation, lead conversion, just like our business. But a lot of our realtors, the showing agents, they feel like the money's in the showing of the houses, but they're not creating the client. They're not generating the client. They don't have the moving truck. They don't have the client events. They don't have any of that stuff, right?
Right.
So
So
I made it around an hourly rate, and that's
yeah,
the golden hand.
right. So, and we talk a lot, when we got together, one of the things we found we had in common was, how do we attract and retain agents? And of course, I think that the mistake that a lot of agents make is, building a team too early. If you guys want a recommendation here, and we were just talking about this too, to us, hey, every brand has its value proposition, right? Every brand has something positive about it, and there's different value propositions out there. I love Gary Keller's book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So I'm not afraid
Oh
to
yeah, I do
like go out
too.
there and say, hey, I've read that book 3 times. So if you want a formula on how, the right way or a right way to grow a team, grab that book and read it. And then at different stages of your business, read it again. But the golden handcuff concept is all about giving so much value to people that they don't want to leave you. That they see the value of staying with you and they don't resent you for it. They're happy, but believe me, when you guys grow your teams, just like Will and I have experienced, there's always that conversation going on in people's heads. Hey, am I getting enough value? Is it worthwhile for me to stay here, or am I better served to go on my own or go elsewhere? So, this whole value proposition idea is really, really important, when you're talking about your teams. Yeah.
Absolutely. And successful team leaders, they become partners with their agents. They're not leaders. They direct the ship, right? The agents want that, but they
Yeah.
don't want to have they don't want you to be the boss bitch. They don't want that. They want a partner who is leading them to success
Yeah.
and providing value to their agents. And basically I work for them. When
Yeah.
Rebecca calls me at night saying, hey, how would you do this? And then she apologizes for bothering me. I'm like, this is my job.
Yeah.
I am here to serve you, to make you better. That's
Yeah.
what my role is. And I don't take it lightly. And I know you don't either.
Absolutely. So we always wrap the show up because I want to get to Social Orchard here, but we always wrap up with best advice ever. So keep that in the back of your mind as we change gears to go to Social Orchard. But best advice that you would give to a new or struggling agent, because obviously I'm sure you look back at your 35 years and say, "Ooh, I might have done this differently or that differently." But I definitely want to get to this Social Orchard concept that you created. Say what you will about Facebook. I love Facebook still. I know that the young kids are saying, oh, Facebook is where the adults go to argue, but there's still a gold mine on Facebook. I call Facebook the newspaper that 2 billion people read. So there's a lot of people there, and you've created kind of a niche product for realtors. Why don't I just throw the ball in your court and please explain to us exactly what this is?
So Facebook has 3 products. They actually have a whole other platform called Workplace, which most of us don't know about. It's a business version of Facebook that they sell to large companies. They sell them that platform. But as far as we're concerned, they have 3 products. They have the personal page, they have the business page, and they have groups. Groups, since COVID, Facebook made a lot of changes in 2018 around their algorithms. They noticed that people were falling off of Facebook, and because of the things you mentioned, arguments, bragging, making it seem your life's great, and other people look at it and think their life sucks, and they get off Facebook, or they get connected with a bunch of their friends from high school and they forgot why they grew apart in the first place. Now they're forced back into their world, seeing the stuff they're posting on Facebook. So Facebook improved their algorithm to the point where you're only going to see posts from people that Facebook determines you have a real conversation with, or real relationship with, based on interaction, based on likes and comments and frequency and all of that, right? So the bottom line is that's how Facebook has made it more real. The business page, that's purely a monetizing product for Facebook. You're going to get less than 5% traction on a business page. So if you're posting your sales on a business page, you'll notice that you'll get, or content that some company's given you, that's just a broadcasting type content, that you're going to get maybe 1 to 2% traction. So we've got 1,800, almost 1,900 followers on our business page. We might get 3 likes. And it's always Brad Lane from Cross Country Mortgage, a home inspector, and Rebecca on my team, right? Those are the likes you get. So then you click the boost post button. That's what Facebook wants you to do, because then you get into this habit of spending $30, $50 to boost a post. All you're going to get from that is likes. And the problem is with likes is they don't pay your house payment. You know, likes don't do anything. They just don't do anything.
You don't get paid for likes?
No. Have you figured out a way to cash them in?
No,
Like,
there's no
minutes?
like bank. Yeah,
No, there isn't.
I think it's like 200,000 likes to 1 penny.
Something like that. So the Facebook realized that during COVID mainly, and the difference between Facebook and these other platforms, Facebook's actually got about 2.9 billion people that are active users on Facebook. Out of the 7 billion people on the planet, 2.9 billion are on Facebook. 1.8 billion are members of groups. And the reason for that, Facebook is a utility. Okay. Facebook is a utility now. Every Fortune 500 company, most universities, they use Facebook groups to communicate with their people, with their employees, with their students. That they use Facebook groups to do that. Because when Facebook groups were created during COVID, during the shutdown, they noticed that the number of common interest groups just skyrocketed. There's about 600 million different groups. There's RN groups, there's artist groups, there's stamp collector groups, there's hundreds of real estate agent groups. Every group that you can possibly imagine. There's electrician groups, there's lawyer groups. And they know that the reason they push groups so heavily is because we like connecting with people with common interests. I belong to 2 running groups, not on Facebook, although I do have a couple on Facebook, but I meet with guys to run on Saturday because I have a common interest with them. I become friends with them. Well, people have been drawn to these groups on Facebook, 9/11 turbo groups. Every group that you can possibly imagine, and you end up getting in those groups, and because you have a common interest with them, you develop an addiction to the group. So Facebook doesn't need you to be addicted to the platform any longer. Once you start connecting with people that have a common interest with you and you start bonding with them in these groups, you keep coming back to Facebook just to connect with those groups. And if they took those groups away from you, there'd be a big hole in your life. Because these personal interest groups, again, I'm not talking about our real estate Facebook groups. We can shut those down. But if personal groups, weight loss groups, there's a lot of very serious groups around alcoholism, drug addiction, people that are post-surgery, post-cancer. These groups, people use them to connect. And so Facebook knows that. So they encourage groups, because the average person that is in a group stays on the platform for about almost 40 minutes a day longer. So 2 years ago,
So how do we do it, Will?
So 2 years ago, I was spending a ton of money on my business page. I talked to a guy one day who'd listened to a podcast I was on, and about getting referral-based business. And he said, I just started a Facebook group. I didn't even listen to anything else he said. As soon as he said that to me, I couldn't wait to get off the phone, because it clicked in my head immediately. So I immediately started the Penney Real Estate Friends and Family group, because I understood how these groups are so sticky. All right. Pages are for broadcasting. Groups are for community and conversations. Okay. So I started this group. I started inviting the people from our business page into it. I started inviting all of our past clients and people we know into it, no realtors. Then I started using it as a CRM. So anyone I run into, I send them a friend request, invite them into the group. I look at my suggested friends list every day. You will notice, like, I talked to a guy the other day from Google, who's an investor in California. Next thing you know, he shows up as a suggested friend on Facebook. They know, they connect with your phone.
That's
So
right.
anyway, the point is, I use it as a CRM now. I don't think about social media. I think of this as like the George Jetson CRM, where you can engage in live real time with people on that platform already, because they've got this in there. You can't see it because of my background, the phone. But they're on Facebook already. I mean, 75% of Facebook users use it daily, right? So I thought, if I start a group, I can get people in there. I can post to it 4 or 5 days a week, so I can stay top of mind with them daily, not monthly or weekly or beyond that. It is the absolute best tool, bar none, to stay top of mind with your past clients in your sphere on a daily basis. And the one thing that people say, I don't want to do that, it seems like it's too involved. It's a community. You're basically creating a community. All you got to do is go on there once a day, respond to the comments. And Social Orchard, all that is, I take the posts that are in my group that work, that generate 60 comments and conversations. Every day we go in for every post and I respond to all the comments and we try to have some conversation. The people that are active in the group, I call them, I send them messages and thank them for being active in the group. We have other members that post in the group asking for advice on certain things. So it's become a community of over 1,000 people who know, like, and trust us. And it takes about 10 minutes a day to just go in. So we take the posts from our group, and then now through Social Orchard, someone signs up, they pay $89 a month. They set up their own group, they populate it, we show them how to do it, how to grow it, and then we post to their group 4 days a week. So all they've got to do then is, and these are really good posts, they're community-driven posts. They're all questions. You know, do you like this or that? Where's your favorite dog park? Where do you take your kids this time of year? What's your favorite restaurant? We want an ethnic restaurant. Where should we go? That, that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I've got agents all over the country now that have Facebook groups, and we just post our content to it for them.
Yeah. So it's a way to leverage your time. And the other thing I wanted to mention, we were joking about likes, but what I've read about the Facebook algorithm is that likes are not enough, that you really need engagement. It's comments, it's shares, so it's conversations. A like or heart is not enough. So, that's what we have found. We also run a big group. It's not a community group like yours, but ours is Cleveland, Ohio Homes for Sale / Rent. I started that about 7 years
Oh,
ago, and we're at over 10,000 members now, and it's a great
holy
tool for
moly.
us. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But now this is also not a quick fix. This is a long-term marketing plan, just like a CRM. You don't sign up for a CRM and then all of a sudden, oh, I just closed 10 sales. That's not the intent of this. This is a long-term strategy that you employ. And I know people are, their antenna are up a little bit. I think that we probably have piqued the interest of folks. Why don't you talk about, like, how they can get in touch with you if they're curious about this Social Orchard product? If they just want to learn more, uh, there's got to be a way for them to reach out to you, right?
Yeah, so they can go to socialorchard.com.
Mhm.
That's our website. They can find me on Facebook, but socialorchard.com is the platform where where agents just sign up. The other thing that I want to talk about for a second, unlike in the old days, because you and I have been in the business a long time, where people could you hope they remember you. Now there's these third-party companies that are backed by Wall Street, hedge fund companies, the Active Agent, Effective Agent, Fast Expert, Upnest, Homelight, OpCity, Zillow. They are spending tens of millions of dollars a month to change the behavior of human beings so that when they want a real estate agent, they go onto one of these referral sites and get referred out to someone for 25 to 40% of the commission.
Yeah.
And they're fighting for that center of that hub. So if you don't have your arms around your tribe, which is the currency of your business, your sphere of influence, your past clients, if you don't have your arms around that, if you're not doing everything you possibly can to stay in their head daily, they're going to be distracted by other agents that are posting reels, other agents that are posting their sales. They're going to be followed around by Ops City and Fast Expert, an effective agent, an ideal agent, hunting them down so that when they think about a buyer, becoming a buyer or a seller, they're going to reach out to them without unwittingly, and they'll say, well, we'll just hook you up with the best agent in your market. And then they get a referral fee, and you'll be gone.
Yeah, they forget about you. I know, and I'm gonna kind of put a bow on this here as we wrap up. But one of my buddies who's been in the business longer than I have, down in the Atlanta area, I asked him, what his big regret in his business was, and he said that out of all the sales he had, that he regretted not keeping in touch with his past clients as well as he should have. And clearly, this is one method to
Which means
do
he's
that.
not at all.
Yeah. He wasn't doing it all, and now he's finally on Facebook. And he was so focused on he was a Mike Ferry guy, and he was so focused on new transactions, new farming, cold calls. And that's good. I'm not saying don't do that, but the piece he was missing was the easy, low hanging fruit for the people who already loved him, the people who already knew, liked, and trusted him. So, I think that was his big regret. So again, socialorchard.com, find Will Penney on all the various social platforms and LinkedIn. But now I want to throw our culminating question back to you, Will, which is best advice ever. If you had to give one gold nugget, one piece of advice to a new or struggling agent right now, maybe looking back at your career, what would that one gold nugget be?
Day one, start developing a database. You need the currency in your business is the people in your life, because real estate businesses are like a multi-level marketing business. Because if you're a buyer of mine and I stay in your world and I get you to stay in mine, I'm now tapping into your sphere too. And then if you refer someone, I'm tapping into their sphere. So that's how you grow a successful real estate business. It's MLM.
Yeah. It's I'm going to date myself here. We're about the same age, but it's like the old Prel commercial for those of you who remember that, and so on and so on. Remember the shampoo?
Right.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
anyway, all right.
yeah.
Yeah, that is absolute gold there, Will. And I agree with you 100%. I have the same regret. I didn't do a good job early in my career, but so Will Penney says day one, start that database. I love it. Well, I want to thank you for being here. It's great to have a local successful agent on the show and on the podcast. If you're listening to the podcast, Free Beer and Real Estate, thank you for that. And again, we'll post this on YouTube. And if you guys don't want to miss more best advice ever and our market updates and all that, please hit that subscribe button. Just to wrap it up, Will, I know they know how to reach you on Social Orchard. Do you want to throw any other contact info out there if people are interested in working with you, talking about your brand, your EXP brand, your team? How can people get in touch with you?
My cell phone, 330-760-2866. My Gmail email address is willpenney, Penney, 2982 @gmail.com.
Yeah, and we'll flash that up on the screen. It'll be in the comments below. We'd love to hear your comments and questions. Do me a favor, say your cell phone one more time, because on my end, you broke up a little bit.
330-760-2866.
Awesome. Well, Will, I can't thank you enough for being here. I really have been looking forward to this. And as I understand, I'll be on your show coming up soon. So we'll have to get that on the calendar.
Sounds great, man. You have a great day, and I appreciate your having me.
My pleasure. Take care, everybody.